The communications room was filling with smoke. Yuri coughed as she typed faster, her fingers dancing across the broken console. Outside, explosions shook the colony walls. The Kravik soldiers were getting closer. "Come on," she whispered, watching the signal strength climb. The jamming was too strong. Her distress call was barely reaching beyond the planet's atmosphere. She could hear screaming in the distance. Her people were dying. Yuri was only 23 years old. She had taken this job on Kesara 7 because it was supposed to be safe. A quiet colony on the frontier, a place to start her career. Now she was the last communications officer alive, and her hands were shaking as she tried to save everyone. The Kravik Dominion had come without warning. Their ships had appeared in orbit 3 days ago. They didn't talk. They didn't negotiate. They just started killing. The Velrathi were a peaceful species. They had no weapons, no defenses. They thought the Galactic Council would protect them, but the Council was too far away. Yuri boosted the signal again, burning out the last power cells. The message was simple. SOS, Kesara 7 under attack, civilian population in danger. Please help. She sent it on every frequency she could find. Military channels, civilian channels, old forgotten frequencies that nobody used anymore. She didn't care who answered. She just needed someone to answer. Then something strange happened. Deep in a sector of space called the Dead Zone, something heard her. A machine that had been sleeping for 200 years suddenly woke up. Old programs flickered to life. Ancient systems began running checks. The machine analyzed Yuri's message, confirmed it was a genuine distress call, and made a decision. It was time to wake the giants. Far away in the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from 50 different species were arguing. They had received Yuri's distress call. They knew the Velrathi colony was dying, but their closest fleet was 3 days away, and the Kravik would finish their attack in 6 hours. "We cannot reach them in time," said Representative Thelvar, his blue skin darkening with distress. "It is a tragedy, but we must accept reality." "We should negotiate," another representative suggested. "Perhaps the Kravik will agree to terms." "The Kravik don't negotiate," someone else said. "They never have." The argument continued. Minutes passed. Yuri's desperate messages kept coming, each one more urgent than the last. The council felt helpless. They had rules, procedures, protocols, but none of those could save the Velrathi now. Then an alarm went off. Every sensor in the council chamber lit up at once. The technical staff looked confused, then frightened. The head technician's voice shook as he made his report. "Something is active in the dead zone." The arguing stopped. Everyone knew about the dead zone. It was a quarantined region where humans had lived 200 years ago. Then humanity had vanished overnight, leaving empty stations and silent worlds. The council had sealed the zone, declared it off limits. Nothing had moved there in 2 centuries. Until now. "What kind of signal?" Thelvar demanded. "Military codes. Old human military codes." The technician's hands moved across his console. "It's coming from the Terran system. There's a structure there we never detected before. It's massive." The signal appeared on the main display. Everyone could read it, translated into Galactic Common Language. "SOS received. War Giants awakening. Hold position." The council chamber went silent. War Giants. That was a name from old stories, from the brief time when humans had walked among the stars. The sleeping titans, some species called them. Warriors of impossible power who had fought in one great war, then disappeared. Most young species thought they were myths, legends to scare children, but the old species remembered, and they were afraid. "Shut it down," someone said. "Send ships to stop them." "Stop them with what?" Thelvar asked quietly. "Do you remember what human war giants did during the Battle of Kelsor?" 3 of them held off an entire invasion fleet. 3. "That was 200 years ago. Those machines must be dead by now." Then why are their systems activating? On Kasara 7, Yuri didn't know any of this. She was hiding under her console as Kravik's soldiers searched the building. She could hear their heavy footsteps, their harsh voices. They were looking for survivors to kill. She held her breath and waited to die. Then her console beeped. Someone had answered her message. The signal was strong, cutting through all the Kravik jamming like it wasn't even there. The message was in a language her computer didn't recognize at first, then it translated. Kasara 7, this is Bastion Omega. We have received your distress call. Hold your position. Help is coming. Yuri's eyes filled with tears. Someone had answered. After all her desperate calls into the void, someone was coming. She didn't know who Bastion Omega was. She didn't know what war giants were. She just knew that the voice on the other end sounded strong and sure, like someone who had done this before, like someone who knew how to fight. "How long?" she transmitted back, her voice barely a whisper. 6 hours. Can you hold for 6 hours? Yuri looked around the ruined communications room. She could still hear the Kravik searching the building. Outside, her colony was burning. 6 hours felt like forever. "We'll try," she said. "Good. Stay strong. The Titan Guard is coming." The signal ended. Yuri sat in the darkness, listening to the war outside. The Titan Guard. She didn't know what that meant. But it was hope, and hope was all she had left. In the dead zone. In a hidden facility built inside a hollowed asteroid, machines continued their wake-up sequence. Cryopods that had been frozen for 2 centuries were warming up. Inside those pods, 5 humans were beginning to stir. They had been soldiers once, warriors, the best of the best. They had gone to sleep thinking humanity was dying, that they would never wake again. But a call had come. Someone needed help. And even after 200 years, even though everyone they had known was dead, their duty remained. The war giants were awakening, and when they walked, the galaxy would remember why humanity had once been feared. Overlord Vex stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching Kasara 7 burn. The colony would fall before sunset. His warriors were efficient. The Velrathi were weak. This was going to be an easy victory. His tactical officer approached nervously. "Sir, we're detecting strange readings from deep space." "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures, very large, coming from the dead zone." Vex laughed. "Nothing lives in the dead zone. Check your sensors." "Yes, sir." But the readings didn't go away. They got stronger. Something was coming. Something big. Vex didn't know it yet, but he had made a terrible mistake. He had attacked a colony protected by an ancient oath. He had triggered a protocol that had slept for 2 centuries. And now the humans were awake. Minho opened his eyes in darkness. His body felt wrong, too cold, too stiff. His mind was foggy. Where was he? What had happened? Memory came back slowly. The evacuation. The plague spreading across human colonies faster than anyone could stop it. The decision to put the Titan Guard into cryosleep, to hide them away until humanity found a cure. "Captain Minho, can you hear me?" The voice came from everywhere at once, artificial, computer-generated. Minho tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. "Take your time, Captain. You have been asleep for 203 years. 200 years. The words didn't make sense at first. Then they hit him like a physical blow. Everyone was gone. His family, his friends, his whole world. All dead for 2 centuries. "Why did you wake me?" Minho managed to say. "A distress call was received. Protocol Omega has been activated. The Titan Guard is needed." Minho felt the cryopod opening around him. Cool air rushed in. His muscles screamed as he tried to move, but training took over. He forced himself to sit up, to breathe, to function. He was a soldier. Soldiers didn't have time to grieve. "Status report," he ordered. Bastion Omega is functional. All war giants are operational. 4 other pilots are awakening now. The distress call came from a Velrathi colony under attack by Kravik forces. Estimated time until colony falls, 5 hours and 42 minutes. Velrathi? Kravik? Minho didn't recognize the names. New species. The Galactic Council has expanded significantly during your sleep. The Velrathi are peaceful. The Kravik are not. Transferring tactical data now. Information flooded into Minho's mind through his neural implant. Images of the attack, data on both species, star charts showing how the galaxy had changed. He processed it all quickly. The situation was clear. Civilians were dying. Someone had called for help. That was all he needed to know. Minho pulled himself out of the pod and stood on shaking legs. The medical bay was huge and empty. 4 other pods were opening. He could see movement inside them. "Wake them faster," he said. "We don't have time." In the second pod, Hana gasped as consciousness returned. She was younger than Minho, barely 25 when she had gone to sleep. Now she was over 200 years old, but her body was still young. Cryosleep had kept them all frozen in time. "Stormbreaker," she whispered. "Is Stormbreaker okay?" "All war giants are functional, Pilot Hana," the computer replied. Hana smiled despite everything. Her giant was alive. The neural bond they shared was still there, even after 200 years. She could feel it at the edge of her mind, waiting for her. The other pods opened. Jiho climbed out carefully, his engineer's mind already racing through what systems would need checking. Doyen emerged silently, his face showing no emotion. Nari was the last, looking around with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Everyone up," Minho called out. "We have a mission." Dr. Sora met them in the medical bay. She wasn't human. The computer had awakened her first because all the human doctors were dead. She was an artificial intelligence, uploaded into an android body 2 centuries ago to maintain the facility. "You're all experiencing disorientation," Sora said, scanning them with medical instruments. "That's normal after extended cryosleep. I'm giving you each a stimulant injection to speed up recovery." "How bad is the situation?" Hyun asked. He was Minho's second in command, always focused on the mission. "Bad," Minho answered. "There's a colony under attack, civilians. They sent a distress call, and we're the only ones close enough to help." "We're always the only ones close enough," Doyen said quietly. It was true. That was why the war giants existed. Because sometimes the galaxy needed something more than regular soldiers. It needed weapons that could cross impossible distances, fight impossible odds, and win. They moved to the briefing room. The main display showed Kasara 7 burning, the Kravik ships in orbit, the countdown timer showing how long the colony had left. 5 hours to cross 3 star systems, Nari observed. "That's impossible with normal drives." "Good thing we're not normal," Hana said. Jiho was already pulling up schematics. "The fold space drives were still experimental when we went under. I don't know if they'll work." "They'll work," Minho said firmly. "Make them work." The engineer nodded. He would do it or die trying. That was the Titan Guard way. They split up to prepare. Minho went to the command center while the others headed for the giant berths. The facility around them was massive, hollowed out of 3 asteroids and connected by reinforced tunnels. It had been designed to stay hidden forever if needed, but hiding time was over. Minho watched his team on the monitors. Hana reached Stormbreaker first, running the last 100 meters. The war giant was 50 stories tall, a biomechanical marvel that looked almost alive. Its armor was dark blue, covered in weapon systems and sensor arrays. When Hana touched its leg, the giant's eyes lit up. The neural bond activated. "Oh, I missed you," Hana whispered. In the other berths, the remaining giants were awakening. Doyun's Earthshaker, massive and heavily armored, Nari's Shadow Step, sleek and built for speed. Hyun's Iron Wall, a defensive fortress, and Minho's own Dauntless, the command unit. Jiho's voice came over the comm. Fold space drives are charging. I've updated the navigation systems with current star charts. The path is programmed. How confident are you? Minho asked. 60%. I'll take those odds. All pilots, board your giants. We launch in 20 minutes. The pilots climbed into their machines. The neural interface process was painful, always had been. Cables connected directly to their spines, linking their minds to the giants. For a moment, each pilot felt like they were dying. Then the connection stabilized, and they became something more than human. Hana felt Stormbreaker's power flowing through her. The giant's sensors became her eyes. Its weapons became her hands. They were one being now, one mind in two bodies. This is Stormbreaker. Systems green. Ready for launch. Earthshaker ready. Shadow Step ready. Iron Wall ready. Dauntless ready, Minho said. Bastion Omega, open the launch bay. Massive doors began opening, revealing the stars beyond. The 5 war giants moved into launch position. Their fold space drives hummed with barely contained energy. Each giant was generating enough power to destroy a small moon. We don't know what the galaxy has become, Minho said over the command channel. We don't know if anyone even remembers humans. But someone out there needs help, and we took an oath. An oath that doesn't expire just because we slept for 200 years. Agreed, Hyun said. Let's show them what the Titan Guard can do, Hana added. Minho smiled inside his giant. His team was ready. They were always ready. All units, initiate fold space jump on my mark. Target, Kasara 7. Let's go save some lives. The drives activated. Space twisted around the war giants. For a moment, they existed in multiple places at once, tearing through reality itself. Then they were gone, leaving only radiation echoes behind. On Kasara 7, Yuri was still hiding. The building had caught fire. She knew she should run, but she stayed by her console, broadcasting the giant's message on repeat so her people would know help was coming. She didn't know if anyone believed her. She barely believed it herself. But somewhere in the darkness of space, 5 impossible machines were racing toward her. The war giants were coming, and the galaxy was about to remember why humanity had been called the Sleeping Titans. The fold space jump was like falling through a nightmare. Reality bent around the war giants as they tore through the fabric of space itself. Inside his neural link, Minho felt every second of it. The human mind wasn't meant to experience this kind of travel. It hurt, but pain was familiar. Pain was manageable. Status check, he commanded, forcing his thoughts to stay clear. Stormbreaker intact, drive operating at 93%, Hana reported. Her voice sounded strained but steady. Earthshaker functional. Minor fluctuations in the power core, Doyen said. Shadow Step is good, better than good. This is amazing, Nari added. She always enjoyed the dangerous parts. Iron Wall stable. All defensive systems online, Hyun confirmed. Dauntless holding course. Jiho, how much longer? The engineer's voice came through from Bastion Omega, where he monitored their journey. 2 more jumps. You're moving faster than anything in recorded galactic history. Every sensor in 3 sectors is probably screaming right now. He was right. Across known space, alarm systems were activating. The energy signatures from 5 fold space jumps were impossible to miss. They looked like stars going supernova, except they were moving. The Galactic Council was in chaos. What do you mean you can't stop them? Representative Thelvar demanded. Sir, they're moving too fast, the military coordinator explained. Our fastest interceptors would need hours to reach their trajectory. They'll arrive at Kasara 7 in less than 3 hours. Send a message. Order them to stand down. We've tried, sir. They're not responding. Thelvar felt fear creeping up his spine. The old record said humans were dangerous. They said human war giants could level cities, could fight entire fleets alone. But those were old stories, exaggerations. They had to be, except now those stories were coming true. Broadcast on all frequencies, Thelvar ordered. Tell them the situation is under control. Tell them the Council will handle the Kravik situation diplomatically. The message was sent. Minho received it during the second fold space jump. He actually laughed, though the sound was bitter. Did they just tell us to stand down? Hana asked. They did, Minho confirmed. They think they can negotiate with the Kravik. The Kravik murdered 3,000 civilians in the last 6 hours, Hyun said, reading the data streams. They're not negotiating. They're exterminating. Minho opened a channel back to the Council. This is Captain Minho of the Titan Guard. We received a distress call. We are responding to that call. You have your protocols. We have ours. You are violating 17 different galactic treaties. Thelvar's voice was sharp with panic. We weren't around to sign those treaties, Minho replied calmly. An SOS was sent. The Titan Guard answers all calls. Stand aside. He cut the connection before the Council could respond. There was no time for politics. The countdown timer showed 4 hours until the colony fell. They had to move faster. Jiho, increase power to the fold drives. Captain, that's dangerous. The drives weren't designed for this kind of stress. Neither were we. Do it. The fold drives screamed as they pushed beyond their limits. The war giants tore through space like bullets through paper. Inside their neural links, the pilots felt every moment of strain. It was like their bodies were being pulled apart and put back together over and over. Hana gritted her teeth. Come on, Stormbreaker, stay with me. The giant responded to her determination, its systems stabilizing. The bond between pilot and machine was more than just technology. It was trust. It was partnership. When one pushed harder, the other matched them. They emerged from the third jump at the edge of Kasara 7's system. All 5 war giants materialized simultaneously. Their arrival sending out shock waves that every sensor within a light year could detect. We made it, Nari said, sounding slightly surprised. Of course we did, Hana replied. Now let's go to work. The tactical display showed the situation clearly. 6 Kravik ships in orbit, 3 full legions on the ground. The colony was surrounded. Yuri's last transmission had come from a burning building in the colony center. Minho analyzed the enemy positions quickly. Nari, take Shadow Step into high orbit. I want eyes on everything. Hyun, deploy Iron Wall to protect the colony. Hana, Doyun, you're with me. We hit the fleet first. Understood. The war giants moved. Even across the vast distance of space, they accelerated impossibly fast. Their engines burned brighter than suns. On the Kravik command ship, alarms were blaring. Overlord Vex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. What are those? He demanded. Unknown, sir. The energy signatures are off the scale. They're bigger than our largest ships, but moving like fighters. How many? 5 contacts. Wait, one is disappearing from sensors. That was Shadow Step, using its stealth systems. Nari smiled inside her giant as she slipped past the Kravik ships undetected. Let them focus on the others. She had her own job to do. The remaining 4 war giants hit the Kravik fleet like the fist of an angry god. Minho arrived first, Dauntless cutting through the void with weapons charging. Target their point defense systems, he ordered. Make them blind. Dauntless opened fire. Plasma lances shot out, beams of superheated energy that could cut through starship armor like butter. The first Kravik destroyer didn't even have time to raise shields. The beam punched through its hull and out the other side. Hana brought Stormbreaker around, releasing swarms of attack drones. Thousands of them, each one carrying enough explosives to destroy a building. They swarmed over the Kravik ships, overwhelming their defenses through sheer numbers. Doyun's Earthshaker lived up to its name. The heavy weapons' giant-fired kinetic rounds accelerated to a fraction of light speed. When they hit, entire sections of enemy ships simply ceased to exist. The impacts created expanding clouds of debris. 3 ships down, Hyun reported from below. 4 more to go, plus the ground forces. Inside the colony, Yuri heard the explosions from orbit. She looked up through the broken ceiling of her building and saw something impossible. Lights in the sky, brighter than stars. Things moving too fast to be ships. Weapons firing. The war giants had arrived. Overlord Vex finally understood what he was facing. These weren't ships. They were something else. Something worse. All ships, focus fire on the lead contact. Bring it down. The 3 remaining Kravik ships turned all their weapons on Dauntless. Missiles launched. Energy beams fired. Enough firepower to destroy a city. The war giant's shields absorbed it all. The attacks looked like raindrops hitting an ocean, briefly visible before disappearing into vastness. Minho didn't even slow down. Is that all? Let me show you what real weapons look like. Dauntless returned fire, its main cannon charged, gathering energy until the space around it glowed. Then it released everything at once. The beam was so bright it could be seen from the planet's surface. It hit the Kravik command ship dead center. The ship held for almost 2 seconds. Then its shields collapsed, its hull melted, and its reactor went critical. The explosion lit up the dark side of the planet. Overlord Vex's last thought was confusion. What were these things? Where had they come from? Then there was nothing. Nari's voice came over the comm. Command ship destroyed. Remaining vessels are trying to retreat. Don't let them, Minho ordered. No witnesses. We don't need the Kravik bringing reinforcements. Shadowstep appeared behind the fleeing ships like a ghost. Its weapons were smaller than the other giants, but they were precise. Nari took out their engines first, leaving them drifting. Then she destroyed them one by one. In less than 10 minutes, the entire Kravik fleet was gone. 6 ships that had terrorized the colony for 3 days, reduced to scrap metal and radiation. Fleet eliminated, Minho reported. Now for the ground forces. All units begin atmospheric entry. Let's finish this. The 5 war giants turned toward the planet below. They fell like meteors, their armor glowing as they hit the atmosphere. On the ground, Kravik soldiers looked up and saw fire falling from the sky. They had no idea what was coming for them. They were about to learn why humans had built machines called war giants. And they were about to understand why even after 200 years, the galaxy still feared the sleeping titans. The war giants hit the ground like falling mountains. Each impact registered on seismic sensors across the planet. The shockwaves knocked Kravik soldiers off their feet. Buildings shook, windows shattered for miles around. When the dust cleared, 5 massive shapes stood on the battlefield, 50 stories tall, more powerful than any weapon the Kravik had ever seen, and they were moving. Yuri watched from her hiding place as Ironwall landed directly between the colony and the Kravik forces. The defensive giant's armor was thick as fortress walls. Its shields activated, creating a shimmering barrier that covered the entire colony perimeter. All civilians, stay inside the protected zone, Hyun's voice boomed from Ironwall's speakers, translated into Velrathi. We are here to help you. The Kravik commander on the ground, Warlord Kresh, stared up at the giants in shock. His training said this was impossible. Nothing could be that big and still move. Nothing could generate that much power. But impossible or not, they were here. All units open fire, Kresh ordered. Bring those things down. The Kravik ground forces unleashed everything they had. Heavy artillery, missile launchers, energy weapons, thousands of rounds hitting the war giants every second. It was enough firepower to level a mountain. The giants didn't even slow down. Minho watched the tactical display inside Dauntless. Every hit registered, but they were like mosquito bites, annoying but harmless. Hana, clear the eastern sector. Doyen, take the west. Nari, hunt down their command units. I'll handle the main force. With pleasure, Hana replied. Stormbreaker moved with impossible grace for something so large. Hana guided her giant through the enemy positions like a dancer, its weapons fired in perfect rhythm. Each shot precisely targeted, no wasted ammunition. A Kravik heavy tank tried to aim at Stormbreaker's legs. Hana saw it targeting and simply stepped on the tank. The machine crumpled like paper under Stormbreaker's foot. She kept walking without breaking stride. "Too slow," she said. Behind her, a swarm of attack drones launched from Stormbreaker's back. They spread across the battlefield, each one seeking targets. When they found Kravik soldiers, the drones didn't kill them. They disabled vehicles, destroyed weapons, cut off escape routes. Hana was herding them, pushing them together. Doyun's approach was less subtle. Earthshaker was built for raw destruction, and that was what it delivered. Its heavy cannons fired shells that hit with the force of small nuclear weapons. Each impact created a crater 50 feet wide. A Kravik artillery position fired at Earthshaker. Doyun targeted the source and returned fire. One shell. The entire artillery battalion vanished in a cloud of fire and debris. "Target eliminated," Doyun reported in his usual calm voice, as if he hadn't just erased 100 soldiers from existence. Nari was doing what she did best. Shadowstep used its stealth systems to vanish and reappear behind enemy lines. The Kravik never saw it coming. One moment, their command post was secure. The next moment, a 50-story giant was standing over them. "Hello," Nari said, using Shadowstep's speakers to broadcast in Kravik. "Where's your commander?" The Kravik soldiers screamed and scattered. Nari's sensors tracked them all. When she found the command vehicle, she reached down with Shadowstep's massive hand and simply picked it up. The vehicle dangled in the air, its occupants screaming inside. "Found him," Nari reported. "What do you want me to do with him?" "Hold him there," Minho said. "We might need him for intelligence." Minho focused on the main Kravik force. Over 2,000 soldiers dug into defensive positions around the colony walls. They had been preparing to breach the colony and finish the massacre. Now they were facing something they couldn't fight. Dauntless stopped at the edge of their position. Minho opened all communication channels, broadcasting to every Kravik unit on the planet. "Kravik forces, this is Captain Minho of the Human Titan Guard. You came to this world to kill innocent people. That was your first mistake. You sent a distress signal that woke us from our sleep. That was your second mistake." He paused, letting the translation systems catch up. "You have one chance to survive this. Drop your weapons, surrender, or we will show you what happens when humans go to war." For a moment, there was silence. Then Warlord Kresh's voice came back, full of rage and defiance. "We do not surrender. We are Kravik. We do not fear you." Minho sighed. He had hoped they would be smart, but soldiers who massacre civilians rarely were. "So be it." Dauntless raised its weapons. Plasma lances, missile batteries, kinetic cannons. Every weapon system activated at once. The giant glowed with barely contained power. Then it opened fire. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The Kravik fought bravely. Minho had to give them that. They held their positions even as their world exploded around them. They fired back even though their weapons couldn't hurt the giants. They died believing they were warriors. But bravery couldn't stop 50-story war machines piloted by humanity's best. Hana's drones swarmed over the eastern sector, eliminating every Kravik soldier in seconds. Doyun's cannons turned the western positions into smoking craters. Nari hunted down every officer, every specialist, every soldier who tried to escape. And Minho, at the center of it all, coordinated everything with perfect precision. He moved dauntless through the battlefield like a master chess player, each step planned, each attack measured. When the Kravik tried to fall back, Iron Wall was there. Hyun had positioned his giant to block their retreat. The defensive machine became an impenetrable wall. Nothing got past it. "They're trapped," Hyun reported. "No escape routes. End it, Minho ordered. The final assault was overwhelming. The 5 war giants converged on the remaining Kravik positions from all sides. The enemy soldiers fired desperately, screaming war cries, but it was useless. In 17 minutes, 3 full Kravik legions were destroyed. Not routed, not defeated. Destroyed. Of the 3,000 soldiers who had landed on Kasara 7, none survived. When the dust settled, the war giants stood silent among the ruins. Their weapons cooled, their shields dimmed. Around them, the battlefield was empty, except for wreckage and fire. Inside the colony, Yuri slowly emerged from her hiding place. The building had stopped shaking. The explosions had ended. She could see through the broken walls to the outside world. 5 massive shapes stood around the colony like guardian statues. One of them, the dark blue one, turned its head toward her. Giant eyes that glowed with inner light looked down at her small form. Kasara 7 Communications Officer Yuri, Minho's voice came through her comm unit, gentle despite its power. Are you injured? Yuri couldn't speak. She could only stare up at the giant in wonder and terror and gratitude. You're safe now, Minho said. The threat has been eliminated. Is there anyone else alive in the colony? Finding her voice, Yuri managed to answer. Yes, many. They're hiding in the shelters. Good. Tell them to come out. Tell them they're safe. The Titan Guard is here. Slowly, doors began opening across the colony. Velrathi civilians emerged, looking around in shock. Their colony was damaged, but standing. The Kravik were gone, and 5 impossible giants stood guard around them. Yuri started crying. She couldn't help it. For 3 days, she had watched her people die. She had sent desperate messages into the void, not knowing if anyone would answer. She had lost hope, but someone had answered. Someone had come, and they had saved everyone. Thank you, she whispered, though she knew the giant pilot probably couldn't hear her. Thank you. But Minho heard. His sensors picked up everything. He saw the crying communications officer. He saw the terrified civilians slowly realizing they would live. He saw the colony, damaged, but not destroyed. This was why the war giants existed. Not to conquer, not to terrorize, but to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Mission accomplished, he said quietly to his team. 0 civilian casualties after our arrival. The colony is secure. What about the Kravik we captured? Nari asked. Minho looked at the command vehicle still dangling in Shadowstep's hand. Inside, Warlord Kresh was alive but in shock. We'll turn him over to the Galactic Council. Let them handle the justice. Our job is done. The 5 war giants stood vigil over the colony as the sun set on Kasara 7. The Velrathi civilians stared up at them, not understanding what they were or where they came from. But they understood one thing. When an SOS had been sent into the darkness, something had answered. Something powerful, something terrifying, something that had saved them all. The giants had walked, and the galaxy would never forget it. The Galactic Council chamber was full of arguing voices. Representatives from 50 species were all talking at once, some in fear, some in anger, some in confusion. At the center of it all stood Captain Minho, still in his pilot suit, looking small and human among the aliens. But everyone in the room knew what he could do. Everyone had seen the battle footage. You violated our airspace without permission, Representative Koltar shouted, his scales turning red with anger. You used weapons of mass destruction on a populated world, added another representative. Minho waited patiently for them to finish. He had faced worse than angry politicians. Finally, Representative Thelvar raised his hand for silence. Captain Minho, Thelvar said carefully, we understand you were responding to a distress call, but your actions have created a serious problem. The war giants are too powerful. They violate 17 different treaties designed to prevent exactly this kind of military force. Treaties we never signed, Minho replied calmly. Treaties that didn't exist when humans were last active in this region of space. That doesn't matter. The law applies to everyone. Does it? Minho stepped forward. Let me ask you something. When Yuri sent her distress call, how long would it have taken your forces to respond? Thelvar hesitated. 3 days. And how long did the Velrathi colony have? 6 hours. So your laws, your treaties, your rules would have let 3,000 innocent people die, because following proper protocol was more important than saving lives. The chamber went quiet. Minho continued, his voice steady but hard. The Titan Guard exists because sometimes the galaxy needs someone who doesn't care about politics, someone who answers the call when others can't or won't. We're not here to conquer, we're not here to rule, we're here to protect. And who decides who needs protecting? Thelvar asked. The people who send the SOS. That's all we need, a genuine cry for help. Everything else is just noise. Another representative stood up. You can't just operate outside galactic law? Watch us, Minho said simply. The argument would have continued, but Dr. Sora's message interrupted. She had been analyzing the data from Bastion Omega's systems, trying to understand what had happened to humanity 200 years ago. What she found changed everything. Council members, Sora's voice came through the chamber speakers. I need to show you something. 200 years ago, humanity disappeared from this sector. We thought it was a natural plague. We were wrong. Data appeared on the main display. Genetic codes, viral patterns, manufacturing signatures. The plague that killed humanity was artificial. It was created in a laboratory, and the laboratory belonged to a member of the old Galactic Council. Shock rippled through the chamber. Thelvar stared at the data in horror. That's impossible. Why would anyone do that? Because humanity was dangerous, Sora explained. 200 years ago, humans had just arrived in galactic space. They were technologically advanced, militarily powerful, and expanding fast. Some council members saw them as a threat. Minho felt cold fury building inside him. You're saying the council murdered my entire species? Not the current council. Members from 2 centuries ago. But yes, they released a bioweapon specifically designed to target human genetics. Most humans died. The survivors fled to the dead zone and eventually died out, except for the Titan Guard hidden in cryosleep. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted denials, demanded investigations, accused each other. But Minho just stood there, processing the truth. His species hadn't died from bad luck. They had been murdered, exterminated because others feared what they might become. Captain Minho, Thelvar said quietly. We had no idea. This is horrific. The current council had nothing to do with this. Doesn't matter, Minho said. His voice was flat, emotionless. The damage is done. Humanity is extinct. Except for 5 soldiers who wake up in a galaxy that tried to kill them. What will you do? Good question. Minho could feel the rage inside him, the desire for revenge. The war giants could destroy so much. They could make the galaxy pay for what had been done. But that wasn't what the Titan Guard was for. Nothing, he finally said. We're not here for revenge. We're here to answer distress calls. That's our mission. That's all it's ever been. He turned to face the full council. But understand this. The Titan Guard operates independently now. We don't answer to you. We don't follow your laws. When someone sends an SOS, we respond. Try to stop us, and you'll learn why humanity built war giants in the first place. That's unacceptable, Koltar said. You can't just... We can. We will. And you can't stop us. The simple truth of it silenced the room. They couldn't stop the war giants. Nobody could. The battle at Kasara 7 had proven that. Thelvar made a decision. Then we make it official. The Titan Guard is granted independent peacekeeping authority. You operate outside Council jurisdiction, but you only respond to genuine distress calls from civilians in danger. Agreed, Minho said. And you submit reports of your actions. No. Captain, no reports, no oversight, no committees reviewing our decisions. We answer distress calls. That's the deal. Take it or spend the next century trying to find a way to stop us. Thelvar knew when he was beaten. Agreed. But if you abuse this authority, we won't. That's not who we are. Minho left the council chamber. He had more important things to do than argue with politicians. Back on Kesara 7, the reconstruction had begun. The Velrathi were rebuilding their colony with help from council aid ships. But there was something else happening, too. Yuri stood in front of Stormbreaker, looking up at the massive war giant. Hana's voice came from the speakers. Can I help you? I want to join you, Yuri said. I want to help the Titan Guard. Why? Because you saved us. Because I saw what you did. And because somewhere out there, someone else is sending a distress call. They need what you gave us. Hope. Inside Stormbreaker, Hana smiled. Can you fight? No. But I can operate communications equipment better than anyone on this planet, and I'm good with computers. We could use someone like that. Talk to Captain Minho. Yuri wasn't the only one. Over the next few days, dozens of young Velrathi volunteered. They couldn't pilot war giants, but they could maintain them, run support systems, help coordinate missions. Slowly, Bastion Omega stopped being a tomb and became a base again. The 5 human pilots were still the only ones who could bond with the war giants, but they weren't alone anymore. Jiho trained the new engineers. Hyun taught tactical coordination. Even Doyun, quiet and cold, found himself explaining weapon systems to eager students. And something else was happening across the dead zone. Other hidden facilities were waking up. Minho's activation of Bastion Omega had sent out a signal, and other automated systems were responding. In the Kesh system, another group of war giants powered up. In the Moreland sector, more cryopods began their thawing sequence. Humanity wasn't as extinct as everyone thought. There were others, scattered across dozens of hidden bases, all sleeping and waiting. Now they were waking up. Dr. Sora showed Minho the readings. I count at least 20 other facilities responding. Maybe 100 more pilots. It'll take time to wake them all, but we're not alone. How long were we supposed to sleep? Minho asked. Forever, if necessary. The protocol was designed to hide the last humans until the plague died out naturally. That took about 50 years. After that, nobody knew you were here. Until Yuri sent her SOS. Until she sent her SOS. Minho stood in the command center, watching his team work with their new support crew. Hana was laughing at something one of the young Velrathi said. Jiho was deep in conversation about fold space theory. Even Doyen looked less distant. They had lost everything, their world, their families, their entire species. But they had found something too. Purpose, hope, a reason to keep fighting. Captain, Nari's voice came over the comm. We're getting another signal. It's faint, but it looks like a distress call. From where? The Verge colonies. Outer Rim. It's hard to make out, but someone's asking for help. Minho felt the familiar weight settle over him, the weight of duty, the weight of being someone who could help. Wake up the other pilots. Prep the war giants. We have work to do. As the Titan Guard prepared for their next mission, a message was spreading across the galaxy. It moved through military channels, civilian networks, even criminal organizations. Everyone was talking about it. The message came from the last surviving Kravik commander. Warlord Kresh had been released after interrogation. The Council had let him go, thinking he would warn the Kravik Dominion to avoid human territory. But the message he sent went everywhere. The humans are not a myth. The sleeping Titans are awake. I watched them destroy an entire fleet in minutes. I saw 3,000 warriors fall in less than an hour. We thought we were strong. We were children playing at war. The message continued, describing the war giants in detail, their size, their power, their precision. They're not invaders. They're not conquerors. They're something worse. They're protectors. And if you threaten innocent life, they will find you. They will judge you. And they will end you. The message ended with a warning that echoed across 100 worlds. Never threaten the innocent when the humans are watching, because when an SOS awakens the human war giants from their slumber, gods have mercy on those who caused it. The galaxy remembered. The species who had thought humans were legends now knew the truth. The sleeping titans were real, and they were awake. In Bastion Omega, Minho stood with his team as they prepared to launch. 5 war giants, 5 pilots, and a mission that would never end. Because somewhere in the darkness of space, someone was always sending a distress call. And the Titan Guard would always answer. That was their oath. That was their purpose. That was why they existed. The war giants powered up, their engines burning bright. One by one, they launched into space, heading toward the next crisis, the next battle, the next chance to save lives. Behind them, Yuri watched from the command center. She was part of something now, something bigger than herself. The last 5 humans in this region of space, and the family they were building around them. "Safe travels," she whispered. The war giants disappeared into the stars. But they would be back. They always came back. Because as long as someone needed help, as long as an SOS echoed through the void, the Titan Guard would answer, and the giants would walk again.